pleasure to introduce Reinhard, a long-time fellow colleague, did a lot of projects and other stuff together. Reinhard today represents JC Holding and Peek & Cloppenburg. You might have heard it's not the easiest time, at least for the German part of the organization. Reinhard is located in Zug. Globally or European-wide responsible for everything concerning the customer centricity, customer touchpoints, customer communication, and of course the loyalty scheme. He has a very profound history of working together with customers in an efficient way. Some spots of his career were NBW and Energy of Baden-Württemberg, one of the big providers in Germany. They was responsible even building up a big scheme there. Then very long and very effective with a lot of results career step at Bräuninger. That was his step to fashion. You can see nice clothes. Since a few years with Peek & Cloppenburg, JC Holding in Düsseldorf, Zug, and Vienna. So we just are about to finish a great project, great content together. And Reinhard, the stage is yours. Happy to introduce you, customer touchpoints and the Homerun there. And just to see this dynamic guy, if his family allows, he's in summer enthusiastic volleyball player, and he loves skiing the Alps and other mountains, and he is quite profound skier. So, stage is yours.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, so let's have a wonderful morning this morning. Thanks for being up this early. I also looked at the agenda, 8:30. Okay, that is early. So we're starting now at 9. So yeah, you learned everything about me that Jan said. We are sharing the ski passion, and we are sharing the passion for loyalty and for good customer relation. And just one sentence to our current situations at Peek & Cloppenburg. As you see, I'm not crying, so the situation is not that bad. And we have the levers and the measures in our hands to really build up a very good and very successful future. As Jan said, the European part, which is everything outside of Germany, is quite very successful. But within Germany, we have like some problems. And as you can tell, and it's written in the press, of course, we are in a huge transformation. I joined Peek & Cloppenburg now 4 years ago. And the owner said to me literally, you know, so far nobody did talk about customers. That's why we got you. So it's really like this, that we are in a huge transformation. And of course, like every retailer, Corona and now the Ukraine crisis, really just big holes. But we are on a good way. And to be on a good way, I can present you now what we are doing. And it's, for me, even I am now for very long in that business, really a great project and a great way to look at our customers. So let's start. The touchdown with it and the customer touch points, why we have this analogy? Because, you know, everybody is talking about a lot of things, the customer journey, what customers are expecting, but how do we know which touch point especially is really the one where we can make the touch point, where we can score the points, where we can get the customer? And that's how we approach this, to really get to know, okay, is it really social media? Where do we lose our customer? Where do we gain our customer? Where do we already have good experiences? And that's where we started. And yeah, I like this quote a lot, especially it's from a very energetic woman, and she's the customer experience, just like I am in Sainsbury, and that is really true. Everybody's talking about what is a customer doing, but this thing is really very profound. It's not happening by chance. You have really to work on it. So what we are actually showing you today is a measure or a system how you can approach and actually how we approach now the customer journey. First, and this is very generic. At the beginning, you know you have to start. What is the real expectation for the customers? It's really very important. You know, I worked for Bräuninger and I was there responsible for the customer service, and we had periods where our responding time was a little bit longer, and it was like this. Always the customer came to me and say, I would have expected this from everybody, but not from Bräuninger, because Bräuninger is like the premium retailer, and so the expectations are really that high. And this is not true, let's say, for the telecommunication, because if you ring up the phone, you are happy if you get a customer employee within 20 minutes, but for Bräuninger, they expect really within 2 minutes. So really to know what is the customer, what is the expectation with a special customer. And then if you know the expectation in each customer, then for sure you can start to really work on that customer journey to say, okay, where do I have pains, where do I have gains, so where can I maybe focus in the communication, where do we need to improve the customer journey, and you can work on it. And for sure, that's, especially in our phase now with Peak and Cloppenburg, then you have really the measures to efficiently improve that customer journey. And for sure, at the end, we have hopefully happy customers and more loyal customers. So what we did, and I'm going to go in each of the steps in detail, is first of all, you need to really understand what is really going on in the customer journey. And actually, it would be interesting to ask you, what would be your definition about a touch point? So this was actually the first trying that we did to find out what is really a touch point. What do we expect being a touch point? And everybody asked me, hey, didn't we know our customer journey? I said, we don't have that one customer journey. There are millions of customers and millions of customer journeys. So you have to have a broad understanding what is like the flow of the customers at these touch points. And then, for sure, if you have this framework that you have, then you go in detail and really measure it. And this is actually the greatest part. And we just had yesterday the presentation of the first results of how do we really understand the customer at these touch points. And then for sure, that is now coming, that is the next step now that is coming. How can we really develop on these touch points? So I start with the first one. I go over that picture, because that is now, if you don't take anything with you, take this picture with you, because this is really very important. You know, at the beginning, you see what kind of phase in the customer journey the customer really is. Is it more in the inspiration, and is it more in the relationship side? And as you see, the store for sure is in every phase one touch point. This is already very, very important to understand, because even some of my colleagues, they didn't understand the way of looking at it. But that's quite obvious, because like in a research, let's go to the research. The research phase it's like when a customer is entering your shop, or whatever your online shop or your stationary shop, he's entering, and how does he get like the orientation? Because there he's really like searching in this period. And so you see there are there are many touch points that we defined. And for sure, what is now the important next step is that we really, and you see, we call them performance drivers. So on each touch point that you define, you now have the performance drivers. So for example, like if you go on the online shop, the speed of registration, the ease of returning, individuality of products, there are many of these performance drivers. At the end, we ended up around 170. Then we reduced the performance drivers around 140. And that was the greatest thing that we did together as a team, with the help for sure from involved, but also with the buying department, with the sales department, with the marketing department. We all worked together, and at the end, this was very important, that we first time sat together and really defined what are really our deep performance drivers. And then, if you have these performance drivers and you know what the customer is really expecting, for sure you want to get the feedback of the customer. That was actually the idea of this analyze, and I know that this afternoon we get another presentation about how you can do this in real time. But I think what we are doing in the stage we are is really we want to set this fundament. So really to learn where we have to approach and tackle our problems with our customers. So, and as you can see, what you get out of is actually in the first step, and I'm going to go in that. In the first step, for sure, I hope most of you know the NPS, Net Promoter Score. So, would you recommend Peak Cloppenburg to your friends? And then the second question is important in correlation to what he was answering. Why did you give this number from 1 to 10? So we did measure each and every touch point with an NPS. So we got like this overall NPS, but not just the NPS, because this was really a very good analysis. We also get the customer satisfaction, because we really want to know from both angles with the recommendation, with the NPS, and also from a customer perspective, what does our customer think? And of course, let's say for loyalty people like us, it's important to also know the repurchase intention. And one thing I didn't mention so far, we did do this for 3 kinds of customers. We did this for our general customers, so customers that are just visiting our shop or kind of visiting our stores. We did this for our insider customers. The thing I brought to Peak Cloppenburg is the insider program. It's now 2.5 years old. So we want to see, is there a difference between the normal customers and the inside loyal customers? And what we did again, and actually there we fought hard with Involved, because this was hard to get, are the lapsed users. So we said we had users or buyers in our panels that bought in the past from Peak Cloppenburg, but for the last 12 months they didn't buy with us. So we could very good ask them, why don't you buy? What was the problem? Why didn't you buy the last 12 months? And this is really very important, because so you can see we have these measures for each of these customer groups, which is very important. And then for sure, if we want to measure it, and that is now really the trickiest thing. Some of you might have heard from the Kano model. So this is like, let's say, the classical Kano model. As you can see, there are 2 axes to it. One is, if you start from left to right, it's increased satisfaction. So there are things that touch points that are performance drivers that are really increasing the customer satisfaction. Let's say if you have an extra drink in the store, that is something that is really increasing their satisfaction. But on the other axis, and that is for me also very important to know, and we always forget it, but they are factors. The customers are not talking about it, but if you don't have them, they really are unsatisfied and unhappy with you. So let's say the tidiness from a store is really something they are expecting. So you don't get a wow for, okay, it's a clean shop here or clean floor. This is really what the customer is expecting. And so what you can see now, and what we have now as a map is, we have each of our 150 performance drivers mapped to this axis. So as you can see, something that is not increasing satisfaction, but increasing the dissatisfaction, these are the basis factors. So these factors, you really, really have to work on them. So we really focus on the priority 1 to get these problems fixed. If we have their touch points where our customers scored a bad NPS, or where we got pains in our customer journey. And it was very good for us to see. It's very interesting that there's a really huge difference between our loyal customers, the insiders, and the lapsed users, because they really have a totally different expectation for us. And that's why also, if you combine now these factors with the different layers of the customer, this really leads already to very good results and to very good learnings for you. On on the yellow side, let's say, is increasing the satisfaction, but it's also on the other hand is increasing the dissatisfaction. These are really the performance factors. So this is really the thing that is driving your core business. For example, for us, it's really the stuff on the floor. As you heard now also, like if you're reading about Karstadt Galleria, everybody's saying the same. What's the reason for brick and mortar stores is you still have people there talking to you and somehow try to understand your needs. So this is really right now one of the biggest performance factors that we need. And the customers, for sure, they gave us the feedback, the insiders, they're quite positive with this relation because we are one of the last that still have quite some people on the floor and didn't take them way off because they are a cost factor. But we still have to work on it. You know, it's like in the United States, it's clear. But if you walk around in a lot of shops, even that the people greet you, that they hi, that they give you a smile, this is not normal. And so these are factors that you really where you already can differentiate. But then the best part, and let's say the cherry on the cake, is the enthusiasm factor. So you're increasing your satisfaction, and you also decreasing the dissatisfaction. So this is really something and very good to see that there's a lot of points from our insider program where we really can make this step forwards and where we can meet the expectation from our customers. So this map now that we have now in our hands together with Involved is really the key now for our roadmap for the next months and years, because we really can now work on this. And I already gave you some examples how can we work with it. For sure, it's also, we get a lot of feedback now for the insider program. We know that the way we digitalized this program, the app, for example, is not state of the art. And if you look at it and you see especially Gen Z, they really have the strong expectation. I don't want this piece of plastic. I want a digital card. We have the digital card, but the processes are still kind of old school and in a paper-written way. So for sure we digitalize it. But it's actually, talking about this, very important, because if you look in other customers, and if I give you an example out of my history, the platinum customers from Bräuninger, they spend a lot of money with Bräuninger, more than 5,000 euros per year. And for them, it was really important to have this plastic cup because it was like a status symbol. They wanted to go at the cashier desk and show, let's see, I'm a platinum customer. So there we always had this discussion. They don't want it digitally because then they have this moment of pride, which is in the cashier desk. They don't have it anymore. So it's not just one way is the right way. It's always you have two angles of it. But if you do like analyze like this, you really get profound knowledge what really your customer is expecting. And then for sure, and you know that's something for sure from my heart, I hope that we are doing now, because if you really know that and you know the measures and you have the steps, and what is the beauty of that, you can follow it by KPIs. And that's coming back to the statement. You really can design what are the steps, what I'm expecting with the NPS, what I'm expecting in this touch point. We are measuring most of the touch point, like also with an NPS. So where we can really see, did we get an improvement? Where do we have to rework? And for sure, at the end, we want happy customers that spend more. And so at the end, we see it in our turnover with the customer. And that is really very important to see, that right now the customer base is increasing, and not just increasing in total, also in quality, so they really spend more with us. And that's why I said I'm really optimistic, because our customer base is really strong. We have a lot of loyal customers and the increasing part of Insider program. So happy customers are our greatest success factor. And as I told you, Pico Cloppenburg didn't talk about customers for many years. Now we are talking about customers, and that's why what I presented you is really a very, very important step. And thanks again to Jannis and his team that did a tremendous job with us, because as I said, the design for that, for sure, it's somehow it's not rocket science, but at the end, putting it together, asking the right question, and coming back, if you took the phases and the channels, this is really the most important one. The discussion about this in your teams, in which phase do we have which touch point with which performance driver, you should really take this with you, and then I guarantee you at the end that you also can have more success with your customers. So thanks for your...
Okay. Thank you, Reinhard. Very impressive presentation, great project. I have more insights, really interesting. So I guess you have a lot of questions. We still have probably 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you. My question is on organization. This methodology and this philosophy actually to managing customer experience touches multiple areas on an organization, typically touches multiple areas on an organization, operations, marketing, obviously, digital for all the data and analytics for all the data insights, maybe even HR, in terms of the profile of the people that you're bringing to execute on those touch points. Where is your organization situated in the overall org chart, and how do you kind of interact with the other areas of the company?
Jan did mention that's why I'm not that much affected. I'm sitting actually in Switzerland in the holding. We have this JC New Retail, where we really locate like the strategic part of how we want to develop the business. So we do this on a European base. Maybe we have around 160 shops all over Europe, Romania, and everywhere. So I do it for all over Europe, for all our companies. And as you said, especially the HR thing I really like. I always say happy customers, happy employees, happy customers. So there's a really strong correlation. So I'm interacting with each department, and as you said, if you want to have this attitude to be in an interaction with the customer, you need to hire this attitude. So we talk to them and we say, what do we need for our customers, and especially with the store stuff. I always say, my team is designing the insider program, but at the end, the success of a loyalty program is done on the floor or wherever. I can give them advice, but if they don't have it in their heart, they are lost. And as you heard yesterday from Payback. I still like a lot, I come from Baden-Württemberg, and there's DM, one of the first partners from Payback. And even after more than 20 years, the cashier asks you, do you have your loyalty card or your payback card, your DM payback card? And you need that mindset that even after 20 years, you're still communicating that strong, this loyalty program, because otherwise you don't get this next step to success.
And let me tell you, that's not so easy to achieve.
I know.
Thanks a lot for the presentation, Reinhard. Very interesting. I have one question. So let's fast forward. You have implemented everything. How do you measure the success of this? You linked every performance driver then to a KPI? For example, if you do this, then the conversion rate in the online shop should improve. So how do you know that this will be successful at some point?
Yeah, that's actually now the next step. What we're doing, what I said, we implemented, like we have the NPS already on several touch points, and we try to roll on them to every touch point, which is important. And for sure, we have like this market research and stuff like this, where we on a continuous basis are measuring what our customers are perceiving. And for sure, the idea is to do this in-depth analyze, like at least once a year, to really see where did we improve. And of course, I'm also like responsible for all the customer service. So for sure, you get the complaints about touch points. You also need to map that to all of the idea of how to improve that. for especially if you talk about delivery, there are a lot of complaints. If it goes to delivery or with the payment options, it's always like it's a huge thing with complaints, and you really need to interconnect everything you know in your company to that methodology, and that is what we are doing right now.
Yep. You remember this chart with the 3 KPIs, NPS, Customer Satisfaction Index, and repurchasing. So that is going to be measured. There's targets, and then it's going to be remeasured. Thank you very much, Reinhard.